Could you start telling more about the Kokosam, the eyewear, the glasses you're having?
Yeah.
You didn't mention them. Can you share the story?
Yeah, so I think I started 5 years ago creating eyewear with 3D printing. Before that, I participated in some competitions, but that was kind of for traditional eyewear. But then I started to 3D print and started to use myself. So for the past 5 years, I've been 3D printed and designed my own eyewear. And so it was kind of as a hobby for many years. And I kind of decided and knew that I'm not going to create any business out of it by myself. I need some people around me to do it. So I found Johanna and Krista. They were more about the marketing and sales. And we've been doing that for about 1 year now. And of course, the idea, the golden idea there is that people could 3D scan themselves. We could help them to create not only custom fit eyewear, but also to tell you kind of being as a virtual helper or stylist, that we tell that, okay, your face have these features, that this fits for your facial kind of shape. Because it's a bit about, we have these aesthetic rules kind of. They are never like strict rules. But that's how we see that if you have a round face, don't put the hair like going with your hair, like put it up, for example, and create a contrast, basically. The same thing works with eyewear. If you have a round face, make angular shape, put angular shape or rectangular eyeglasses. So we could be also then that stylist virtually as well. Of course, first it means that I have to be on the computer and check everybody's face, but if we could create the algorithm, at some day we can create it so that the computer can suggest you already.
But this is up and running. I mean, if I want a pair of glasses, it just...
Kokosam is up and running. You can order online. So we are at the moment we are only online working. Plus we have these fitting sessions once in a while, but we'll let you know about that.
Good. Next question.
I have actually a kind of a practical question. In USA, there's a service which is super good, which they do 3D printing in kind of basically you send them a file, and then they will make you a prototype of that file, and they will also kind of correct if you have kind of made a mistake in a 3D file and stuff, they will correct it, and then they will kind of send you a suggestion on how to improve and kind of guide you in this kind of the process, and they have a whole facility with, it's pretty actually kind of like a pretty big company. And the price is like $100 to $200 per kind of prototype they produce for you. And I've been trying to figure out that no one seems to be doing, at least I haven't been able in Europe to find any similar kind of super kind of automated process that you just upload a file and then they kind of go through the whole thing. And do you know, does this thing exist here? Or, because I mean, if you would from here send your models to USA, kind of the shipping thing would almost kind of double the price, and it's kind of a hassle.
Yeah. There is custom cost, and so I've done that. Yeah. There is a couple actually big ones in Europe. There is Calteo in Paris working, so in France, and then there is in Belgium. There is iMaterialize, which is consumer service. Then Materialize without the I is kind of world leader of like B2B side, so business to business, that, for example, they create our eyewear. So we don't 3D print them ourselves. They come from Belgium. So they have specialized into eyewear. They have own team for eyewear only. So they have huge facility in there. But iMaterialize, for example, so there is in Europe as well. I use a lot of Shapeways, and if you order Shapeways nylon products, as my eyeglasses are made of, for example, they come from Eindhoven, from Holland. Their headquarters is in New York, but they have the original headquarters and the facility in Eindhoven as well. So there is this kind of global services, but then there is local as well. There is a bunch of services in Finland as well. So they are not as automated as you mentioned. They don't check everything, and so there's people always behind. But it's a matter of money. The code costs. You have to create the service, and that costs a lot of money. You need a lot of programmers behind it. So that's the biggest reason why there isn't in Finland. It costs a lot to create it.
Okay, thanks. I could actually take the addresses later on for the
Yeah.
super interested in.
And then we had, yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. I was wondering more on the philosophical level, what would you think would be design's role in the future? Because, well, this machine learning and everything that has been going on, like say Alpha Deep Blue just beat the Go master in Korea, and everybody's astonished because it's like real artificial intelligence that is catching up. So computers will design eventually, more sooner than later. What will be the designer's role then? What will be actually our part in this?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, it's not going to be one part only, but definitely computer already designs. In engineering, there is algorithms that creates better shape for the product because it analyzes all the time that the strength and if it's about, you know, like windmill, that it takes the wind better way and so on. So computer is already better than human being in those. But in design, it's more about aesthetics and functionality. So functionality computer can create quite quickly, but aesthetic is about like, it's hard to say, but we of course want the human touch, and I believe that handcraft will get more appreciated in the future because 3D printing makes creating products too easy, kind of. So it becomes too easy to consume. Same thing what is in music and video as well happened, and text. You have so much content that you kind of want to go back a little bit. So that's why handcraft will be also more appreciated later on. And yeah, computer will be a designer, definitely. And on that side, maybe designer's role in some bigger companies can be that you are kind of like a controller only. That you don't really design, but you check that whether the computer have made the design well. But of course there will be designers as well, but it will change, definitely. Our profession will change, that's for sure.
Well, you kind of answered to my question already, but I still want to say it out loud because it connects to the previous question as well. And the question was that how would you see the near future if you think about the 10 years ahead and the trend of democratization of design in that sense, that how the handcraft will be challenging the democratization of design when everyone can be a designer and print the designs by themselves, and that eventually leads to the exponential amount of bad design, to be honest. And we already can predict that. But the question was exactly because my assumption is that the appreciation of handcraft and the mastership of design will eventually be the challenging for the 3D printing itself. But maybe it would be interesting to hear your comments about the same trend.
Yeah. Well, as I showed in the presentation already, I think it's always good to look in the past. What have happened in other fields? That's why I've explained many times, music, video, because it follows quite the same path in the way. Of course, it's a physical product. It will change a little bit. But if you're creating music, everybody can create music. Everybody when you buy a Mac, you have GarageBand. So what? How many of us creates music, actually? Can you raise your hand? How many of you really creates music? Okay, about 10 persons from here. So quite many. But okay, so how many think about it's just the how many think it's a professional thing? Not hobby? None. Well, one is kind of like waving there. I want, but yeah, exactly. So we have the tools to making photos, Instagram. it doesn't mean that photographers have disappeared. Actually, I think there is more jobs nowadays in photographing, making good quality videos, making music and so. It will just spread more. There will be more content. And Chris Anderson tells about long tail, that you have this exponential growth. And this thin line in the beginning, it's the long tail, where people create very customized content as well, very specific content. But they are not necessarily making a lot of money. And then there is a lot of hobbyists in that field as well. Like most of us are hobbyist photographer. We use the Instagram, but we don't get paid from it. So the same thing will happen in design. And design will be more difficult because it's not as easy as pushing a button. Of course it can be if the computer generates the design and then you click like, okay, I don't like, okay, this is nice design, I designed this. So computer will help in that, definitely. But I'm not afraid of my job in that sense as a designer because it will create a lot of jobs as well.
Okay, hey, I had a question about sustainability of the 3D printing. Like, I think it's in some sense it's gonna reduce the material because it's excuse me, it's more about like on-demand products and such. But on the other hand, it becomes all the time easier. So how do we kind of like block ourselves from not filling the earth with plastic devices that we don't use, and how do you recycle that stuff?
Yeah, well, that of course depends about the materials. Can we recycle them? Because not every material we can't recycle actually today. And you have to remember that 3D printing, it uses the same materials as traditional methods. So it's just a new way to create it. And if we use biodegradable materials, you use it, you throw it to compost, it's okay then. We have to get it more local so that we don't ship them around the world, the products. And we have to use less products, of course. More fit products, for example, because that creates, if the product is better, you use it longer as well. And we have to remember that there is this thing called dematerialization going on nowadays, that we have everything from our desk in the 80s, we have in our pocket nowadays, in our smartphones. So we actually try to get rid of stuff all the time. So it's really difficult to say how it will be. It will be easier to create the products, but we have also movement going on that we try to get rid of extra stuff at the same time. So I think it's about that we create good products, and it's about that people say it aloud, because we just have to get people be aware that, hey, if you can't press the button, it doesn't mean that it's good for you. I mean, it's the same thing with the food. You can buy as much as food as you want nowadays, pretty much, because we have quite a lot of money in the end. But do you do it? No, because you know it's not healthy to just eat. So we have the common sense in the end that even if it's easy to create, I don't think we're just gonna buy more stuff. Of course, there is people who will do that. They're doing it already, but it can be explained as a sickness then as well, that you buy too much stuff, these shopaholics. But most of the people have a common sense and they don't do it, so I believe in that.
I think, yeah, let's try it. There's still room for one question?
I have one.
You have one. Let's make two questions then.
Okay, I'm keen to know what kind of vision you have like as a professional from this day on, how long it would take that people would have like 3D printers at home, so it would be like common like this. Nowadays we have like inkjet printers, so that people would download a file from internet and print something useful, really like get the benefit out of it. Nowadays it's more or less like entertainment, you print like toys, soldiers and stuff like that.
Yeah, Well, it goes kind of the same way as computers did. If we think about the 80s, we had the Commodore 64 and kids just played and our parents were like, what's that computer? That doesn't make any sense. Now everybody have to use computer. So it might take 10 years, but it's up to the people as well that do we want 3D printers in our homes? Do we need it really? Because it's about that how much you consume something. You consume entertainment every day. You eat every day. That's why you have a microwave oven. But you don't create new products every day, at least today. Of course, if they are biodegradable, that we could use them more and throw it away and it will be recyclable. But we don't use that many products, so I think that we might not see that many printers at home. It's just easier to order online and it comes to your home. I believe more in services in that sense.
Yeah. Beyond plastic, what are the more exotic materials you can use to 3D print with?
Depending who you ask, there is 250 to 400 different materials today you can 3D print. So basically, pretty much every single material you know can be 3D printed. Ceramics, glass, not glass as we see windows, so see-through glass, but glass also, every kind of metal. You can online order nowadays titanium parts. So if you would have skills, you could create implants if you break your bone and so. There is a possibility that you could order it like from your CT or Röntgen scan, you could create the implant for your bone, broken bone, and order it online today already. Gold, silver, these valuable metals are possible, and many others. Pretty much everything you can think of almost can be 3D printed today. Thank you.